There are many crafts that are important to gaming. So there's of course the technical crafts of development, like engineering and art, even production. But there's also other facets, which are like monetization and distribution and conversation, which are equally important parts of games. So for example, from USC, we have a couple of MBA students, and they are not making games. They're helping games monetize, be distributed in meaningful ways. I think we'll do even more of that, where we see students who are coming with different identities of what they do and how they want to impact the game's ecosystem and bringing them into system.
Talking to Gordon has been really interesting because we'll talk about like connections we both share and potentially finding ways to strengthen those connections. So Gordon's like, oh, I know this connection really well. Let me like actually make more opportunities for you to connect more. And that's a great example of like, Gordon is able to see what you're working with, see what you already have, and strengthen those features and aspects. And I think that's really healthy, and I think that's really organic.
The Bigglesworth Family Foundation and St. John Bain approached us and said, hey, we'd really like to be able to help support your students. And of course, we thought that was a great idea, especially because they were specifically looking to support students in graduate programs. And we've long been of the opinion at NYU that graduate school is actually a great way to really discover your creative voice, figure out how you want to make an impact on the game industry, and kind of go above and beyond just the like liberal arts education that most students focus on getting in undergrad. That firm like academic foundation and knowing how to do work and creative work is great in undergrad. But what we see in graduate school is that students really figure out how they're going to launch themselves off a cliff into the unknown and fly. So we were excited that, and we were very much in agreement with the CYSTEM program that was a good place to focus.
Before I started the program, one of my friends introduced me to like his small indie studio, and I got to really immerse myself. I got to meet the founder. I got to try on a VR headset. I got to really basically understand that yes, gaming is an option and you can do this as a role. When I started my MBA program, I was kind of like, not necessarily shepherded, but I was around like a lot of product managers. So being in product for games sounded like a super interesting idea. You get to help decide and help pivot the strategy to where you think the game could go in the next like 1, 3, 5 years.
Joining CYSTEM, we had this lengthy supplement that we were able to write out with a bunch of different questions about like who we are and who we want to be in this industry. I want to think about like, how does the work that I'm doing right now impact who I want to be and the legacy that I want to leave behind? So that way I'm able to empower not just myself and the people around me and my teams, but also the people who are coming from the next generation.
We have a bunch of really nice online spaces that we're able to connect to, so I'm hoping to stay in those Discord servers, and if any questions come up or if a cool position comes up, now I know what a lot of people in the program are interested in, and I can pass those things along. Or I hope that people will do the same for me and say, oh, if this games and health psychology thing comes up, that Marielle would be a really great fit for that. And so keeping those people that I have met in mind and hoping that we've all got each other's backs and we're all going to try to support each other moving forward.
I was part of the part-time MBA program at USC, and while I was still in school, I landed my opportunity at Take-Two Interactive and have been working with them since. The way I got my job through the USC network, and it really showed to me the importance of like networking and building those connections, and that's part of what we try to facilitate through the CYSTEM program.
CYSTEM from the get-go was about creating community, not so much like here's a grant, which is of course always appreciated. It wasn't here's a grant, here's some portfolio advice, you've graduated, get out the door, goodbye. It's like, no, you're always welcome to come back and participate in this community.
It does fall on institutions whose primary mission is to try and lift up the next generation of voices to make this a priority. So I think, part of it is absolutely groups like CYSTEM. It always has to be something I think that's thought about at every stage. And I think the mistake that sometimes gets made at the sort of corporate DEI level is thinking, oh, we can put some effort in here. But really, someone has to be thinking about it all the way from the kids who have an initial interest that they express in doing something like making games. right? So how do we make sure those kids know, hey, you can start learning right now when you are in middle school, when you're in high school,